So let's endeavor to learn what CRT means from lead CRT authors. Critical race theory frontman Ibram Kendi wrote How to Be Anti-Racist, but his definitions are hardly illuminating. Take a listen.
And I define an anti-racist as someone who is expressing an anti-racist idea or supporting an anti-racist policy.
So to be anti-racist, all you have to do is be anti-racist. Sounds easy, right? No. If you deny that you're racist, that in fact makes you a racist.
Fundamentally, racism, its heartbeat, has always been denial. And the sound of that heartbeat has always been, I'm not racist. To be more specific, the sound of that heartbeat has always been not racist.
By this standard, behold, America's racist president.
Corey should apologize. He knows better. There's not a racist bone in my body. I've been involved in civil rights my whole career. Period.
Joe Biden has the boomer, period. But what does this all mean? Question mark. If you say you aren't a racist, you are a racist. And the only way to be anti-racist is to admit that you are in fact racist.
And that is the distinction between a racist and an anti-racist. A racist, no matter what is said about them, no matter how they're charged with being racist, they're always going to deny it.
Donald Trump was having none of it. In September 2020, Trump issued Executive Order 13950 banning critical race theory. The Trump order notes, the Department of Treasury recently held a seminar that promoted the arguments that virtually all white people, regardless of how woke they are, contribute to racism. Training materials from Argonne National Laboratories, a federal entity, stated that racism is interwoven into every fabric of America, and described colorblindness and meritocracy as actions of bias. Materials from Sandia National Laboratories, also a federal entity for non-minority males, stated that an emphasis on rationality over emotionality was characteristic of white males and that those present must acknowledge their privilege to each other. The Trump order concludes that all Americans are created equal and that critical race theory in the federal workforce is strictly prohibited. Sadly, but not surprisingly, President Biden repealed the Trump order on his first day, replacing it with a full embrace of critical race theory. Equality as a governing concept was replaced with equity. Equality and equity are not the same thing, as Kamala Harris tells us in this hokey campaign video.
So there's a big difference between equality and equity. Equality suggests, oh, everyone should get the same amount. The problem with that, not everybody's starting out from the same place. So if we're all getting the same amount, but you started out back there and I started out over here, we can get the same amount, but you're still gonna be that far back behind me. It's about giving people the resources and the support they need so that everyone can be on equal footing and then compete on equal footing. Equitable treatment means we all end up at the same place.
If having everyone end up in the same place sounds like an embrace of socialism and a rejection of capitalism, well, that's exactly the point. After all, Kendi tells us that capitalism is essentially racist and racism is essentially capitalist. Kendi also tells us that race-neutral public policy is an illusion. All policy must be either racist or anti-racist.
If we eliminated the term race-neutral from the American vocabulary, to recognize that all policies are either racist or anti-racist. They don't realize, I think many of us don't realize, that we are connecting ourselves to a history of slave traders.
It's decided. The more not racist you feel, the closer to a slave trader you become. Bad news for the big guy.
I mean, the one thing you cannot say about Joe is that he's a racist.